Hare Krishna. Now, dear devotees, so welcome to our online class today. Some or other things are not working out, and many devotees not well. So we thought let's do an online class today. So today we are going to read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta. We'll read Prabhupada's childhood and then see how we recently had Jagannath Rath Yatra. So we will hear Prabhupada in his childhood, how he was. He had so many sanskars about the Rath Yatra and how, being a true lover of Jagannath, then he started those Rath Yatras all over the world. And today we have, I think, pre-COVID, we had more than 600 Rath Yatras every year all over the world in ISKCON. So this is spiritual expansion. That one become 600. So we begin the class now. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Swayam Rupa Kadamanya Dudati Swapada He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Nada Kanta Nastapa Tap Tak Chana Gaurani Radhe Vrinda Vrishabhanu Sudhe Devi Pratama Cha Kalpataru Desa Kripa Sindhu Cha Patita Nam Pavane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Jayani Krishna Shishya Nirvana Shakti Vishnu Hare Krishna. So, voice is low. I speak very low. Sorry, bro. Can you hear the voice?
Still low. It is
Oh,
still
low.
It is still low. Yes, Prabhuji.
Oh.
And I think there is a bit of a disconnect in the internet as well.
Okay. Hotspot laga raha. Give me 1 second.
You have that mic with you? Or is it bad?
One second, Prabhuji. मैं hotspot पे connect करूँगा. Hare Krishna. अब बेटर है कुछ प्रभु?
Yes.
Hotspot से ही चलता है. Okay. So we'll read from the childhood pastimes of Prabhupada. I'm reading from So I don't know. This is page number 8 on Prabhupada Lilamrta. So just the initial pages, and page number 8. It is a para starting. Abhay was acknowledged pet child of both his parents. This is those who are reading can see.
Oh, what is chapter name?
This is childhood, first chapter.
Okay, first,
Prabhupada Lilamrta. अब ठीक हो गई वॉइस प्रभु?
it's quite good now.
माइक लगा लिया प्रभु जी. Okay, so
You want me to share screen?
हाँ नहीं प्रभु जी, फिर मुझे दोनों जगह ध्यान रखना पड़ता है इसकी स्क्रीन पे क्या चल रहा है और यहाँ पे.
Can scroll like.
No need प्रभु जी, no need to do the screen sharing. Okay, so here we go. Abhay was acknowledged pet child of both his parents. In addition to his childhood names, Moti, Nandulal, Nandu, Kocha, his grandmother called him Kachori Mukhi because of his fondness for kachoris. Both his grandmother and mother would give him kachoris, which he kept in many pockets of his little vest. He liked to watch the vendors cooking on the busy roadside and accept kachoris from them and from neighbors until all the inside and outside pockets of his vest were filled with kachoris. So we have the Prabhupada, he used to like watch the vendors cooking busy. So many times you will hear that he was such a keen observer that many things he absorbed just by watching others. He said he learned cooking with his mother just by seeing here the street, vendors are cooking, making kachoris. So he saw how his father used to do deity worship, and he learned just by observing him. He learned. Sometimes when Abhay demanded that his mother make him kachoris, she would refuse. Once, she even sent him to bed. When Gaur Mohan came home and asked, "Where is Abhay?" Rajini explained that he had been too demanding and she had sent him to bed without kachoris. "No, we should make them for him," his father replied. And he woke Abhay and personally cooked puris and kachoris for him. Usually these things are done by the mother, but in his case, the mother was a disciplinarian. जो स्ट्रिक्ट थी घर में वो मदर थी, और जो वात्सल्य या प्रेम उड़ेलते थे बच्चे के ऊपर वो पिता थे. You will not find too many fathers saying कि बच्चा जो है भूखा सो गया और अब मैं खाना बनाता हूँ उसके लिए, like that. Sorry, मेरे से पेज ही हिल गया. Okay. Gaur Mohan was always lenient with Abhay and careful to see that his son got whatever he wanted. When Gaur Mohan returned home at night, it was his practice to take a little puffed rice, and Abhay would also sometime sit with his father eating puffed rice. अब similarly, आप लोगों ने से जिसने भी प्रभुपाद की लीलामृत पढ़ी है या प्रभुपाद के पास टेंस पढ़ते हैं, so this also you see he got from his father to eat that puffed rice because जो चिड़वा ये होता है, so it is lighter on the stomach. So many times I was hearing Devi Shakti Mataji's class and she was saying that it depends upon Prabhupada's appetite. So if usually he will take hot milk and this puffed rice or moody, so not chirwa, moody he will take. And in Guru Maharaj used to like moody and puffed rice. Maybe Bengal it is popular. मैंने तो इस्कॉन में आने से पहले मूड़ी नहीं खाए थे, इस्कॉन में आके मूड़ी का पता चला. So like that. So we can see so many things he absorbed. And Devi Shakti Mataji was sharing how जब Prabhupada की appetite अच्छी होती थी, he will even take a kachori or some sabji like this, but usually he will take moody and hot milk. And hot milk means that you can't hold it, very hot, that he would take. और और माता जी बता रहे थे कि जब उनको पता चलता था कि प्रभुपाद की तबीयत ठीक नहीं है, इसका मतलब है कि प्रभुपाद इज नॉट ईटिंग फूड. सो हिज वे ऑफ curing himself was not to eat. He will just take khichdi a little bit, so he will stop eating. That was his way of curing. And devotees will find in this manner that Prabhupada is not well. Those who are serving him, like Devi Shakti Mata Ji, Shutakirti Prabhu, Pendra Prabhu, later on Guru Maharaj, so they would know from these that he's not well. Once, at a cost of 6 rupees, Gaur Mohan brought Abhay a pair of shoes imported from England. And each year, through a friend who traveled back and forth from Kashmir, Gaur Mohan would present his son a Kashmiri shawl with a fancy hand-sewn border. One day in the market, Abhay saw a toy gun he wanted. His father said no, and Abhay started to cry. All right, Gaur Mohan said, and he brought him the gun. Then Abhay wanted another one. You already have one, his father said. Why do you need another one? One for each hand. Abhay cried, and he lay down on the street, kicking his feet. When Gaur Mohan agreed to get the second gun, Abhay was pacified. ये हम लोगों का भी एक्सपीरियंस है. अब तो बच्चे नहीं करते हैं, but हमारे टाइम में बच्चे लेट के रोते थे, like this. And Prabhupada used to call it rifle. That time he used to not call gun. He would say, I had 2 rifles. Abhay's mother Rajni was 30-year-old when he was born. Like her husband, she came from a long-established Gaudiya Vaishnava family. She was darker skinned than her husband, and whereas her disposition was cool, hers tended to be fiery. So, she would get upset easily and was a disciplinarian, or jo father, we are told, was he was a easygoing, like this. So Abhay saw his mother and father living together peacefully. No deep marital conflict or complicated dissatisfaction ever threatened home. Rajni was chaste and religious minded, a model housewife in the traditional Vedic sense, dedicated to caring for her husband and children. Abhay observed his mother's simple and touching attempts to ensure by prayers, by vows, and even by rituals that he continues to live. Whenever he would go out, even to play, his mother, after dressing him, would put a drop of saliva on her finger and touch to his forehead. ये तो आप लोगों को भी बहुत लोगों का एक्सपीरियंस होगा. कई बार मदर दे टच एंड देन पुट कि जो बच्चा है उसको नजर ना लगे करने के लिए they put this thing. Abhay never knew the significance of this act, but because she was his mother, he stood submissively like a dog with its master while she did it. Like Gaur Mohan, Rajni treated Abhay as the pet child. And whereas her husband expressed his love through leniency and plans for his son's spiritual success, she expressed her love through attempts to safeguard Abhay from all danger, disease, and death. She once offered blood from her breast to one of the demigods with the supplication that Abhay be protected from all sides, from all dangers. At Abhay's birth, she made a vow to eat with her left hand until the day her son would notice and ask her why she was eating with the wrong hand. One day, when little Abhay actually asked, she immediately stopped. ये बहुत सारे घरों में आप देखते हैं कि हम पाएंगे कि इस तरह के रिचुअल्स मदर्स डू. कि ये हम देखते हैं Yashoda Mai also used to do so much rituals and then for Krishna to safeguard. And even in India, very common culture कि people will do something or other कि बच्चे की नजर उतार नहीं है, बच्चे को नजर ना लगे, या उसके यहाँ वो सुरमे से वो बना देते थे काला सा तिलक कि इसको नजर ना लगे. Like this, many things mothers do or to safeguard the child and ensure he has a good, strong childhood. It had been just another prescription for his survival, for she thought that by the strength of her vow, he would continue to grow, at least until he asked her about the vow. Had he not asked, she would have never again have eaten with the right hand. According to her superstition, he would have gone on living protected by a vow. For his protection, she also put an iron bangle around his leg. His playmate would ask him what it was, and Abhay self consciously went to his mother and demanded, "Open this bangle." When she said, "I will do it later," he began to cry, "No, now." Once Abhay swallowed a watermelon seed, and his friends told him that it would grow in his stomach into a watermelon. He ran to his mother, who assured him that he didn't have to worry. She would say a mantra to protect him. ये हम लोगों का भी रहा होगा, कभी बचपन में खरबूजा खा तो पेट में खरबूजा निकल जाएगा, पेरेंट्स भी बोलते थे कि बीज नहीं खाने हैं, नहीं तो पेट में हो जाएगा, like this. Srila Prabhupada, Mother Yashoda would chant mantras in the morning to protect Krishna from all dangers throughout the day. When Krishna killed some demon, she thought it was due to her chanting. My mother would do a similar thing with me. His mother would often take him to Ganges and personally bathe him. She also gave him a food supplement known as Horlicks. So Devi Shakti Mataji bata rahi thi ki jab Prabhupada in his last days, he also took the Horlicks. And she didn't know that what is this Horlicks. But jo lekar aaye as a food supplement that he will take. And later on they found that in the childhood also they had Horlicks. Most of us, I think we had Horlicks or Bonvita through our childhood. When he got dysentery, she cured him with hot puris and fried eggplant with salt. Though sometimes when he was ill, Abhay would show obstinacy by refusing to take any medicine. But just as he was stubborn, his mother was determined, and she would forcibly administer medicine into his mouth, though sometimes it took 3 assistants to hold him down. 3 नौकर चाकर वो पकड़ते थे प्रभुपाद को, तब मदर जबरदस्ती उनके मुंह में दवाई डालती थी. ये भी हम लोगों का एक्सपीरियंस रहा है बचपन में. At least I remembered many times my father would hold me and then put that bitter medicine inside the mouth. और ये देखिए कि जो भी हमने पढ़ा कि कैसे कि for upset stomach that her mother cured Prabhupada with hot puris and fried eggplant with salt. ये Prabhupada आप पाएंगे कि जब many letters you will find Prabhupada telling this कि the cure for dysentery you eat, like this. So all the things he got it from the childhood as a culture where he growing up he got it, all of them, and they continued with him till the last moment. It's not that when he became Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya, a well-known personality all over the world, circling the globe, that he forgot all that. Nothing he forgot. Rather, he gave it to those Westerners and all the devotees all over the world. He gave this, remedies. Many of them I collect. So these remedies I collect. Sometimes I hope I can put a PDF and put many remedies that whatever Prabhupada has given for upset stomach, for headache, for toothache, for this or that, the general things which we can use something, get nearby and get cured. So all of them, he got it while growing up. Srila Prabhupada, I was very naughty when I was a boy. I would break anything. When I was angry, I would break the glass hookah pipes, which my father kept to offer to guests. Once my mother was trying to bathe me and I refused and knocked my head on the ground and blood came out. They came running and said, "What are you doing? You shall kill the child." Abhay was present when his mother observed the ceremony of Sadhotra during the 7th month and 9th months of her pregnancies. Freshly bathed, she would appear in her new clothing along with her children and enjoy a feast of whatever food she desired, while her husband gave goods in charity to the local brahmanas who chanted the mantras for the purification of the mother and the coming child. Abhay was completely dependent on his mother. Sometimes she would put his shirt on backwards and he would simply accept it without mentioning it. ये भी हम लोगों का रहा होगा कुछ लोगों का experience कि कई बार mother in just fun they will put the dress of the boy like a girl, but the boy will never say why I'm dressed like that. They will accept जो भी mother ने कर दिया, they will accept. He would simply accept it without mentioning it. Although he was sometimes stubborn, he felt dependent on the guidance and reassurance of his mother. When he had when he had to go to Privy, he would jump up and down besides her, holding a sari, saying, "Urine, mother, urine." Probably it was susu, hai mama susu. Who is stopping you? She would ask. Yes, you can go. Only then, with her permission, he would go. Sometimes, in the intimacy of dependence, his mother became his foil. When he lost a baby tooth, and on her advice, she placed it under a pillow that night. The tooth vanished and some money appeared. Abhay gave the money to his mother for safekeeping. But later, when in their constant association, she opposed him, he demanded, "I want my money back. I will go away from home. Now you give my money back." ये भी हम लोग एक्सपीरियंस देते थे और हम बोलेंगे हमारे पैसे वापस कर दो। खैर कि वो जो पैसे दिए थे वो मासी ने, मामा जी वापस करो पैसे हमारे, मेरे पैसे वापस दो, like that. So he would say. When Rajni wanted her hair braided, she would regularly ask her daughters. But if Abhay was present, he would insist on braiding it himself, and he would create such a disturbance that they would give it to him. Once he painted the bottoms of his feet red, imitating the custom of women who painted their feet on festive occasions. His mother tried to dissuade him, saying it was not for children, but he insisted, "No, I must do it also." Abhay was unwilling to go to school. Why should I go? He thought. I will play all day. When his mother complained to Gaur Mohan, Abhay, sure that his father would be affectionate, said, "No, I shall go tomorrow." "All right, he will go tomorrow," said Gaur Mohan. "That's all right." But the next morning, Abhay would complain that he was sick and his father indulged him. Rajni became upset because the boy would not go to school. She hired a man for 4 rupees to escort him there. The man, whose name was Damodar, would tie Abhay about the waist with a rope, a customary treatment, take him to the school, and present him before his teacher. When Abhay would try to run away, Damodar would pick him up and carry him in his arms. And after being taken a few times by force, Abhay began to go on his own. So this was a primary school. The kindergarten school was there in the same locality, in the same long building. There was a kindergarten school. So from there, when you go to primary school, then all of us, we have issues going to the school. In those days, any common villager, even if illiterate, could recite from Ramayana, Mahabharata, or Bhagavatam. Especially in the villages, everyone would assemble in the evening to hear from the scriptures. It was for this purpose that Abhay's family would sometimes go in the evening to his maternal uncle's home about 10 miles away, where they would assemble and hear about Lord's transcendental pastimes. They would return home discussing and remembering them, then go to the bed and dream Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Bhagavatam. So this was another thing in our non-electricity days, that no electricity, no TV, no internet, no radio, nothing, but only Ramayana, Mahabharata, or Srimad Bhagavatam. And though people complain many times, Devi Shakti Mataji was saying कि उस समय बहुत बार एक तो जो अनपढ़ लोग होते थे, they would also have wisdom because they would read the Shastras. ये हमने अपनी फैमिलीज में भी देखा, आप पाएंगे कि even though many times the women were illiterate, the dadis, the grandmothers, but they would have wisdom, what is right, what is wrong. So she was saying, insisting that wisdom came by reading Shastras. So sometimes people complain that girl education was not there, they were not gone, but because they were they were exposed to reading Shastras, especially Mahabharata, Ramayana, and Bhagavatam. So the girls will know what is right, what is wrong, and they could run the whole household without any problem, without being so-called material education, because their concepts were clear like this. And you can see that they're saying the people will go home, they will discuss, वापस जाते हुए कथा से वापस सुनते हुए, they will go home and they will discuss कि आज स्पीकर ने क्या बोला, आज क्या सुना, क्या हुआ. and they will dream of Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Bhagavatam. And less said about our dreams, the better it is. देखिए, what dreams we get and what dreams the so-called illiterate people get. After his afternoon rest and bath, Abhay would go to a neighbor's house and look at the black and white pictures in Mahabharata. His grandmother asked him daily to read Mahabharata from a vernacular edition. Thus, by looking at pictures and reading with his grandmother, Abhay imbibed Mahabharata. In Abhay's childhood play, his younger sister Bhavatarani was often his assistant. Together, they would go to see Radha Govind deities in Malik's temple. In their play, whenever they encountered obstacles, they would pray to God for help. Please, Krishna, help us fly this kite. They would call as they ran along, trying to put their kite into flight. Ronnie Prabhu, can you find a picture of Radha Govind and the Bhavatarani Mataji? Then we can do screen share. Let's see. So Bhavatarani Mataji, his younger sister, I think उनसे 3 साल छोटी थी वो, और she remained with Prabhupada till his last breath. She was there, and Prabhupada also said, Devi Shakti Mataji was saying that she was a pure Vaishnava, or she remained till the end with a brother. और लास्ट में जब प्रभुपाद कुछ नहीं भी पा सकते थे, he had no appetite, then just to build the appetite, he will accept, food cooked by his sister, thinking that it may ignite his appetite. जो उनको भूख नहीं लग रही है, though she would, Devi Shakti Mataji was sharing कि Prabhupada told Devi Shakti Mataji, she learned the cooking from Bhavatarani Mataji, and और वो दिखने में भी बिल्कुल प्रभुपाद की जैसी थी, बात भी वैसे करती थी, और कुकिंग जो है उन्होंने उनसे सीखी देवी शक्ति माताजी ने. And then Prabhupada, when she learned the cooking, then Prabhupada said, now you cook to Devi Shakti Mataji, and you improvise it. I don't remember the exact word, but it basically meant because when Pishima, which is how everybody used to call Prabhupada's sister, which means father's sister, Pishima in Bengali. So that Pishima would sometime put mustard oil, which was heavy on Prabhupada's stomach. So when Mataji and the devotees will cook, they will not use mustard oil for cooking, but Bhavatarani Mataji, she will put Pishima because it brings the taste out in the vegetable. So both of these brother and sister, they were very close. We see in families sometimes, even when we have multiple brothers and sisters, but one or two of them will go hand in hand. So it was similar. Prabhupada और उनकी जो बहन है, दोनों Bhavatarani Mataji, they were very close. And Abhay's toys included 2 guns, a wind-up car, a cow that jumped when Abhay squeezed the rubber bulb attached, and a dog with a mechanism that made it dance. The toy dog was from Dr. Bose, the family physician, who gave it to him when treating a minor wound on Abhay's side. Abhay sometimes liked to pretend that he was a doctor, and to his friend, he would administer medicine, which was nothing more than dust. So, you've taken the picture out? You can show? Okay, whenever you're ready, you can show.
Of Bhavatarani Mataji, yes, but not of the Radha Govind deities.
Okay, you can show Bhavatarani Mataji.
Yes.
So, I don't know how many of you saw Prabhupada son. So once we had gone to Jain, then he had come, and I was just walking from far, and I thought I'm seeing a younger Prabhupada. So this is Bhavatarani Mataji picture, and she resembled Prabhupada, and everybody in ISKCON used to call her Pishima. Pishima means father's sister. So Prabhupada being spiritual master, father, so father, sister, Pishima. She was very attached to Prabhupada, and very attached. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So, and here we read how the Prabhupada, he would also play that doctor जैसे बचपन में हम doctor so he would play. और इसके अंदर हम पहले एक एनेक्डोट भी आता है कैसे कि एक ज्योतिषी ने एक बार प्रभुपाद के लिए बोला कि इन द लास्ट बर्थ ही वाज ए डॉक्टर. और एक बार प्रभुपाद उसके बारे में बता रहे थे, देन ही सेड कि मे बी इट वाज राइट बिकॉज आई यूज्ड टू लाइक प्लेइंग डॉक्टर, लाइक दैट. और वो जो ज्योतिषी साहब उसने भी बोला कि ही वाज सिनलेस, he was a doctor in the previous life and he was sinless. And he said, the Jyotishi said, the only sin he did was maybe kill a snake. And so that was also okay because us time mein jo doctors hain, they will kill the snake to get their venom to make medicine. So it was not considered like a, killing the animal. It was done for the larger good. So, and Prabhupada later on, he would say yes, it may be true because I used to like playing doctor in my childhood. In Abhay's childhood play, Abhay was enamored with the Rath Yatra festival of Lord Jagannath, held yearly in Calcutta. The biggest Calcutta Rath Yatra was the Malik's, with 3 separate carts bearing the deities of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. So these are, we know that many of us, we think that ISKCON started these Rath Yatras, of course, outside India. So Prabhupada ne start kiya Rath Yatra. But within ISKCON, within India, it is a tradition in Odisha and in Bengal to have Rath Yatra the same because उस वक्त तो train या buses ये सब नहीं थी. So you can't go buy a ticket and go take a flight or a train to Jagannath Puri. But local temples, जहाँ पर भी जगन्नाथ deities थे, they will take out जगन्नाथ यात्रा. और अब तो कैलकाटा में सबसे बड़ी रथ यात्रा इस्कॉन की है. बट और भी टेम्पल जो है कैलकाटा के अंदर जहाँ जगन्नाथ डीटीज हैं, वो सारी रथ यात्रा निकालते हैं. और उस वक्त प्रभुपाद के चाइल्डहुड के अंदर द बिगेस्ट रथ यात्रा यूज्ड टू बी हिज अंकल्स द मलिक्स. सो दे यूज्ड टू हैव द लार्जेस्ट रथ यात्रा इन कैलकाटा. Beginning from Radha Govind temple, the carts would proceed down Harrison Road for a short distance and then return. The Maliks would distribute large quantities of Lord Jagannath's prasadam to the public on this day. Rath Yatra was held in cities all over India, but the original gigantic Rath Yatra, attended each year by millions of pilgrims, took place 300 miles south of Calcutta at Jagannath Puri. For centuries at Puri, 3 wooden carts, 45 feet high, had been towed by the crowds along with 2-mile parade route in commemoration of one of Lord Krishna's eternal pastime. So we know that pastime, how it is the Brajvasis who want to take Krishna of Dwarka from Kurukshetra to Vrindavan. So that is a pastime we all know of Jagannath Rath Yatra. Abhay had heard how Lord Chaitanya himself 400 years before had danced and led ecstatic chanting of Hare Krishna at the Puri Rath Yatra festival. Abhay would sometime look at the railway station timetable and ask about the fare to Vrindavan and Puri, thinking how he would collect the money and go there. तो उस वक्त जो ट्रेन का फेयर होता था तो वो वृंदावन के लिए 6 रुपए था कलकत्ता से और जगन्नाथपुरी के लिए 4 रुपए. जब in his childhood time that used to be the fare for going to Vrindavan and Jagannath Puri. Abhay wanted to have his own cart and to perform his own Rath Yatra, and naturally he turned to his father for help. Gaur Mohan agreed, but there were difficulties. Difficulties means his hand, unka haath itna khula nahi tha. When he took his son to several carpenter shops, he found that he could not afford to have a cart made. कि एक ready-made cart रथ के लिए उनके पास इतने पैसे नहीं थे. But on the way home, Abhay began crying, and an old Bengali woman approached and asked him what was the matter. Gaur Mohan explained that the boy wanted a Rath Yatra cart, but they couldn't afford to have one made. Oh, I have a cart, the woman said, and she invited Gaur Mohan and Abhay to her place and showed them the cart. It looked old, but it was still operable. and it was just the right size, about 3 feet high. So all this details we hear is all from Satswarup Maharaj, who took 3 or 4 years to compile Prabhupada Lilamrta. And that time there was no internet, there was no mobile phone, there was no ISKCON desired tree or stuff like that. So it sent disciples and approached other devotees, and they collected all this information. And also many information Prabhupada shared with the, with his personal servants like Shrutakirti Prabhu, Upendra Prabhu, even Satswarup Maharaj, others. He shared many. So they compiled everything, from those devotees who who remember those anecdotes, and that's how this is going. So that's how we have these details here. The Rath cart was, 3 feet high. Maybe Prabhupada told, it was this high. So, to one of his servants like this. Gaur Mohan purchased it and helped to restore and decorate it. Father and son together constructed 16 supporting columns and placed a canopy on top, resembling as closely as possible the ones on the big carts at Puri. They also attached the traditional wooden horse and a driver to the front of the cart. Abhay insisted that it must look authentic. Gaur Mohan brought paints and Abhay personally painted the cart, copying the Puri originals. His enthusiasm was great, and he became an insistent organizer of various aspects of the festival. But when he tried making fireworks for the occasion from a book that gave illustrated descriptions of the process, Rajni intervened. तो किस तरह से देखते हैं प्रभुपाद ने वो सारा पेंट किया, और जिस तरह से उसके रथ के ऊपर वो खंबे लगे होते हैं, उन्होंने वैसे के वैसे बनाए सारे के सारे, और बाकी भी सारा कि किस तरह से रथ जाता है, किस तरह से प्रसादम डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन होता है, कैसे भगवान रथ पे बैठते हैं, ऑल दैट ही ऑर्गेनाइज्ड. और माता पिता बड़े खुश हुए, और देखते थे कि कितना इंटरेस्ट लेके ये सारा त्योहार का आयोजन कर रहा है. पर लास्ट में माता ने पकड़ लिया, जब उनको कोई किताब मिली जहाँ से वो पटाखे बना सकते हैं उस वक्त, तो वो उनको नहीं करने दिया. Abhay engaged his playmates in helping him, especially his sister Bhavatarani, and he became the natural leader. So, like I said, that Bhavatarani Mataji and Prabhupada, they were very close, and from the beginning, it was the same thing. And he was always a leader. We'll see this in the childhood. It is like a leader. In the college also, you will hear he was a leader of his. Just a boys ka gang hota hai, together they are their group of people. So in that group of people, he was also the leader. So that leadership quality he had from the childhood. Responding to his entreaties, amused mothers in the neighborhood agreed to cook special preparation so that he could distribute prasadam at his Rath Yatra festival. So this prasadam distribution also naturally came to Prabhupada from his childhood. Like the festival at Puri, Abhay's Rath Yatra ran for 8 consecutive days. And he's a young child. He's not very old. He's not even a teenager at that time. His family members gathered and the neighborhood children joined in procession, pulling the cart, playing drums, kartals, and chanting. Wearing a dhoti and no shirt in the heat of summer, Abhay led the children in chanting Hare Krishna and in singing the appropriate Bengali bhajan, Ki Kara Rai Kamlini. What are you doing, Srimati Radharani? Please come out and see. They are stealing your dearest treasure, Krishna, the black gem. If the young girl only knew, the young boy, Krishna, treasure of her heart, is now forsaking her. जब मैंने पहली बार लीलामृत पढ़ी, मैंने बहुत ढूंढा ये भजन, मुझे नहीं मिला, बहुत ढूंढा मैंने ये. और उसमें मैं क्लास सुन रहा था तो देवी शक्ति माता जी also said that she tried, and this is कि अभी अनंग मोहन प्रभु ने बोला है कलकत्ता में कि जयप्रताप महाराज आ रहे हैं, सुभाग महाराज आ रहे हैं. So we will ask them कि where is this bhajan? And she says Sarang Thakur Prabhu also said that they used to sing a similar song in the childhood, but not the same one. तो मंडे को दर्शन होंगे देवी शक्ति माता जी के. So we'll ask if this, I so much searched for this song, couldn't get anywhere. Abhay copied whatever he had seen, the adult religious functions, including dressing the deities, offering the deities food, which means bhoga, offering arti with ghee lamp and incense, and making prostrated obeisances. So देखिए, everything Prabhupada learned in the childhood, and not only learned, he performed also. हाँ? प्रसादम distribution, जगन्नाथ पुरी का पूरा कार्ट बनाना. And so when we read in लीलामृत कैसे उन्होंने वेस्ट के अंदर जाके उन्होंने जयानंद प्रभु को बताया कार्ट कैसे बनानी है, जगन्नाथ डिटीज श्याम सुंदर को प्रभु को कैसे कार्ट करने हैं, और वो कार्ट कितनी बड़ी होनी चाहिए, फ्लैट बेड ट्रक के ऊपर कैसे आना है, कितनी हाइट है, एवरीथिंग ही वाज एबल टू टेल विदाउट एनी इशू. और ड्राइंग बना बना के, आप स्केचेस भी आपको मिल जाएंगे, आप ढूंढेंगे द स्केचेस प्रभुपाद मेड फॉर द रथ यात्रा. और भोगा कैसे ऑफर करना है, और प्रसाद कैसे डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना है, ऑफरिंग कैसे करनी है, घी लैम्प की, इंसेंस की, everything in you. From Harrison Road, the procession entered the circular road inside the courtyard of Radha Govind temple and stood while before the deities. These are the same Radha Govind deities जो उनके नेबरहुड में थे, जहाँ प्रभुपाद जाके बचपन से ही उनको प्रेम में भी ले जाके वहां पर दर्शन करने जाते थे प्रभुपाद. Seeing the fun, Gaur Mohan's friend approached him. Why haven't you invited us? You're holding a big ceremony and you don't invite us. What is this? They're just children playing, his father replied. Oh, children playing, the man joked. You are depriving us by saying that this is only for children. While Abhay was ecstatically absorbed in the Rath Yatra processions, Gaur Mohan spent money for 8 consecutive days. And Rajni cooked various dishes to offer along with flowers to Lord Jagannath. Although everything Abhay did was imitation, his inspiration and steady drive for holding the festival were genuine. His spontaneous spirit sustained the 8-day children's festival, and each successive year brought a new festival which Abhay would observe in the same manner. Or many of you would be very surprised to know कि सब करने से पहले प्रभुपाद कभी भी जगन्नाथपुरी नहीं गए थे. He went to Jagannath Puri in his adulthood. He went first time. वो कभी भी जगन्नाथ पुरी नहीं गए थे. अब देखिए कि because the culture was that, it was a culture in that time to hold Jagannath Rath Yatras. Like I said, because there were no other form, other way to go to Puri to attend. It was once in a lifetime that somebody will go to Jagannath Puri, attend the Rath Yatra, or take even darshan of Jagannath there. When Abhay was 6-year-old, he asked his father for a deity of his own to worship. Since in fancy, he had watched his father doing puja at home and had been regularly seeing the worship of Radha Govind and thinking, when will I be able to worship Krishna like this? On Abhay's request, his father purchased a pair of little Radha Krishna deities and gave them to him. From them on, whatever Abhay ate, he would first offer to Radha and Krishna, and imitating his father and the priest of Radha Govind, he would offer his deities a ghee lamp and then put them to rest at night. Abhay and his sister Bhavatarni became dedicated worshippers of the little Radha Krishna deities, spending much of their time dressing and worshipping them and sometimes singing bhajans. Their brothers and sisters laughed, teasing Abhay and Bhavatarni by saying that because they were more interested in deity worship than in their education, they would not live long. But Abhay replied, they didn't care. So we can see how in the childhood only Prabhupada, he was so attached to Jagannath worship, to Jagannath Rath Yatra, and how both these brother and sisters, they became a team, and that team didn't break till the last. और जो भवतारिणी माता जी हैं, देवी शक्ति माता जी बता रहे थे कि कैसे she also got initiated to Harinam Diksha when Prabhupada got initiation from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But because her husband was a non-vegetarian, so then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur did give her the Brahman initiation, but she got Harinam initiation, like that. So that was how, and so they both got initiated at the same time, and also from childhood they were very close to each other. And Mataji was sharing how when Prabhupada left his body, that she also didn't stay for very long. She left her body in 78 after God Purnima, There's a Bengali New Year. On that day, she left. And Mataji was sharing how she was very popular. She had her own following in Calcutta because she could sing very well. And she had this kathas like Prabhupada. She was expert. So she had a following. There were many followers, Mataji said, who used to come. And, whenever she come to Mayapur, they will also come. And also, after Prabhupada left, then she went to her home. But after some time, she came back to Mayapur. And then in Mayapur, like many things happen in ISKCON, the sannyasis decided that she should not, being a woman, she should not stay in Mayapur. But she didn't agree. She wanted to be in Mayapur. And then the local GBC there at that time, Bhavananda Maharaj, he told the temple commander of General Manager to pick her up and take her back to, send her back to, her home in Calcutta, because, a woman, they can't take care of a woman, and it'll be difficult for her to leave her body here. And they said that when the Prabhu, he picked her up and bring her down to put in a taxi, and Bhavananda Maharaj was also standing there to see her off and ensure that she goes back home. And Mother shared at that time, जो पिशिमा है, उन्होंने Bhavananda Maharaj की तरफ देखा जब उनकी नजरें मिली. So at that time, because she resembled Prabhupada so much, then Bhavananda Maharaj said, "You take her back to the room," because he had no heart to send her back. And like after few months, she left her body, and she was, both of them, they remained very, very close to each other. And we read from Prabhupada Lilamrta how much she would cook for her, how happy he was, and how special relationship, that relationship between a brother and a sister remained with them. That he will tease, that he will sometimes make fun of her, that she's very fat, she's eating too much, like that. That remained with, that rasa remained, like that. So I request everybody that please read Lilamrta. It's a wonderful book. और हम लोग जब भागवतम पढ़, एटलीस्ट आई कैन स्पीक फॉर माई सेल्फ, कि भागवतम पढ़ते हैं, भगवद गीता पढ़ते हैं, कोई और पढ़ते हैं, तो हमें लगता है सब ऊंची बातें हैं, ऊंचे लोग, ऊंची बातें, ये सब है. बट अगर हम देखते हैं कि क्योंकि वी आर अनेबल टू कनेक्टेड विद आवर लाइफ, विद आवर कॉन्शियसनेस, वी कांट थिंक लाइक पांडव्स, वी कांट थिंक लाइक ध्रुव महाराज, प्रहलाद महाराज, वी कांट think like anybody. Even the villains in the scripture seems better than us in the consciousness. So, but when we read Prabhupada Lilamrta, जब हम Prabhupada Lilamrta पढ़ते हैं, then we are able to relate, because everything is happening, just which we can relate to. The cities, the place, the happenings, the dealing, everything we can relate to. Now, in that dealing, what Prabhupada is doing, it teaches us how a Mahajan does, in the Kali Yuga. It's not 500 years back. It's not 5,000 years back in Krishna's time. It's not 500 years back in Prabhupada, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. But it's just, maybe another 70, 80 years back, things happening 50 years back, 60 years back, 70 years back. And we can relate to everything. And we learn how he was doing a business, how he was doing a, preaching, what was his mood, and in what circumstances, what he was doing. So all that we can get from Lilamrta. This is the potency. If we read about him, and we can find, we will make practical spiritual progress by reading Prabhupada Lilamrta. Hare Krishna. I thought I'd speak for 45 minutes, but it was long. So I hope all of you liked. After a long time, we had Lilamrta. And like I said, I request all of you, Monday को 6:30 बजे, पहले हमने 7 बजे बोला था, Monday को 6:30 बजे देवी शक्ति माता जी आएंगी, and we will be very fortunate to hear from her Prabhupada Katha. So on that note, we will close. If anybody wants to share anything, we can have, otherwise we'll end. Hare Krishna. Yes, Neha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranams. Prabhuji, I wanted to share one thing. उस दिन मैं अमोक प्रभु का लेक्चर यही सेम पर सुन रही थी, तो उन्होंने ये बताया कि जब प्रभुपाद 5 साल के थे और जब वो रथ चला रहे थे, तो उनके रिश्तेदारों ने उनसे पूछा, अच्छा तुम ये कहाँ लेके जाओगे अभय रथ? तो उन्होंने बोला लंदन लेके जाऊंगा, सैन फ्रांसिस्को लेके जाऊंगा, न्यूयॉर्क लेके जाऊंगा। तो उनके जो रिश्तेदार थे वो बड़े अमेज हो गए। उनको लंदन तो समझ आ रहा था बिकॉज लंदन वाज क्वाइट नोन टू पीपल दैट टाइम, बट उन्हें ये नहीं समझ में आ रहा था कि ये बाकी कौन सी जगह बोल रहा है बच्चा। सो दिस आई वांटेड टू शेयर, so that was very amazing.
Okay. Yes, Madhaji. Yes. Thank you, Madhaji. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share something from what we heard? Okay. So we will close this, end the session. But I hope and pray that all of you read Prabhupada Lilamrta regularly. Thank you, Sangeeta Mataji. Thank you, Srila Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So we'll end the class. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deva Gauravani Prachari Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarani Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Lilamrita Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai, Nidai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.